Buonasera, prepariamoci a una serata un po' particolare, molto speciale per l'Accademia, per avere il privilegio di avervi e di avere con noi Jim Dine e due fantastici musicisti che avrete modo e piacere di ascoltare stasera. Siamo in un posto molto speciale e per l'Accademia, per Roma e direi insomma per tutta l'umanità. Questa è una chiesa che è stata costruita su progetto e sotto una donazione di Pietro da Cortona e che è stata per tanti anni la chiesa, e lo è ancora, dell'Accademia di San Luca. Qui trovano riposo anche le spoglie di molti artisti. È un luogo, diciamo, centrale della cultura romana e noi vogliamo continuare a parteciparci di questo splendore e ad avere la possibilità di rianimarlo con una programmazione che sia all'altezza dei nostri tempi. Siamo molto orgogliosi di ospitare Jim Dine, abbiamo una mostra straordinaria che vi invito a visitare, chi di voi non l'avesse ancora già fatto, e inizierei senz'altro la serata. Grazie.
I'm Jim Dine. And before I read my poems, I'd like to make an explanation. I know that I'm known as a painter and a sculptor, but all my life I've also been a poet. And
devo tradurre. Allora,
go ahead.
Jim, prima di cominciare il reading, voleva fare una piccola presentazione di sé. Dice che tutta la sua vita è stato, ovviamente lui sa di essere conosciuto come artista visiva, ma per tutta la vita è stato poeta.
And to be a poet for me has been as important as being a painter. I had trouble with language as a child. I was dyslexic and found it easier to read poetry than to read fiction.
Essere poeta per lui è importante quanto essere pittore. Da ragazzino avevo difficoltà con la lettura per via della dislessia. E quindi leggere la poesia è stato più facile che altre forme di lettura.
And as a young man, in my early 20s, when I came to New York, I made friends with poets who were at least as important to me as the painters I knew. Go ahead.
Da giovane, arrivato nei ventenni a New York, ha stretto amicizia con poeti, non solo con pittori. Poeti erano come amici, queste erano amicizie ugualmente importanti a quelli che avevo con i pittori.
The poets were, I found, more generous towards me than the painters, because the painters were painters and so was I. And it was just like that. But in recent years, because I've upped the ante with the importance of my poetry, now the poets are a little pissed off too.
Capiscono. Allora, i poeti da giovane a New York, i poeti erano semmai più generosi con l'amicizia dei pittori, anche perché Jim, essendo pittore, l'invidia c'era, mentre negli ultimi anni, siccome come poeta il suo lavoro è cresciuto, anche con i poeti adesso c'è un po' di astio.
And before I start to read, you should know that I write in the American language, which is different than English. And I'm pleased to use it because it's a juicy form of English.
Prima che cominci a leggere, è importante sapere che Jim scrive nell'americano, non nell'inglese britannico, cosa importante perché lui ha molto piacere nell'usare l'americano in quanto lo trova una lingua succosa.
The first poem I'm going to read is called Peroxide. I think I wrote it in 2013, 2012. And I built it over the year. And it's very influenced by my life as a gardener.
La prima poesia si chiama Peroxide, decolorante, scritto nel 2012-2013, costruito nell'arco di un anno, e centra molto la sua vita come giardiniere.
Let's look at buildings and co-publish charcoal. Let's talk about a dark morning in Islip. Some words seem to be ashes, and black bags, poor people, starting soil, and lonely vegetables on a window ledge. Black from the blonde, already blonde. I speak peroxide. Peroxide, the river of time. And foot soap, salute and moisture our lawn, and the moisture. Many letters written to you about peroxide. And the pleading to rid yourself of the ox. Care for me like I dreamt the glue did. The next poem is quite short, and I wrote it within the year. It's called Elysian Fields. Elysian Fields.
La prossima poesia è breve, scritto nell'arco di un anno, e si chiama Elysian Fields, Campio Elisio, Elisio.
and the song of the forest. Never again the metro. So work the fifth step and raise a glass to revenge, to reneging, to relishing, and to fascism, a word that now walks in, but not before retribution, and moral fairness moves us back to Ohio in the autumn. Oh, Canada, I drink another to your really full red lips and to the Champs-Elysees. That's French for Elysian Fields, which is why I titled the poem that. This next poem is called Jewish Fate, in French, Destin Juif. It's a hard, somewhat hard autobiographical work alluding to my childhood and my old age now.
La prossima poesia si chiama Jewish Fate o Destino ebraico. Ed questa è una poesia abbastanza dura, piuttosto dura, molto autobiografica, che parla dell'infanzia di Jim e anche la vecchiaia.
I wrote it in the last 5 years or something. It takes a while, and it's a bit hard. Okay.
Scritto negli ultimi 5 anni all'incirca, ci vuole un po' ed è un po' tosto.
As they say, Jewish fate. That's the title, Jewish fate. Drunk on the Holy Spirit. Drunk on the Holy Spirit. Polaroids. Chromogenics. Gelatin silver prints. Diana and I talking about Mark Hampton's description of her finger. She's wearing her red shawl, Jewish fate. I think something else happens were I to be from it. My big exuberance is the curse of the positive. I don't always know about the moment. The power, being human at sunset, vibrates back, lit, and this, and this, and this, so isolated, so violated. A plan to pay me back involving refinancing, and I must give a mere $100,000 to tide you over, as they say, till the next tide of debt and fear. You can go to jail, you know, or me, or with me. Leon's store sold plumbing supplies and tools, and toilets, and sinks, all kinds of little stuff, like washers and nails and light bulbs. So easy the dream. falling towards Zion, always correcting and reinventing the drawing. With you, it's refinancing and the threat of paying the dollars, and in a few minutes, the months go by. And I know this isn't what you want, but taxes and refinancing. The photograph of your huge shadow, distinct in its hatred of goodwill and trust. The fast payback, a better footing for the dark shadow of the giant. Never release me. Don't ever. Thank you for never releasing me. I worked there every Saturday and every summer for 10 years, beginning when I was 9. They got me to sort little stuff that had been ordered to replace what had been sold. Barrels of nails needed to be opened with a steel nail claw. A metal hand, really. I would put the different sizes into empty wooden bins. From this girdle that surrounds the house, that surrounds your stomach, your hips, the formal garden surrounding the house, the razor, the tools, and thousands of dollars shine on the wheels of young girls, on their leaves, their technique. I am the willing model. It's easier to look at me than to view a stranger. It's also possible to make me sad in my shoes with the vitriol of debt that you drown in like your lies in the jam pot, my friend, in front of the Christmas tree. It was very boring, but it gave me time when I was 9 to daydream among objects about the beauty of the white glaze on the bathroom fixtures. For instance, there were paint, color charts, and beautiful big red bolt cutters that eventually, 20 years later, entered my drawing as a man. This all gives you the atmosphere of the place. I really want to talk about 2 men I worked with there, who eventually, when I was 14, I worked for, helping them load and unload trucks that came with supplies to sell, and trucks taking away orders of kitchens or very heavy supplies like cast iron sewer pipe to a contractor who was building a house. This is the picture I want. This is the picture I want. A debt to the work, but the work from the river Styx. Mania, dear. Plus, and then, sleeping opposite hours. You're asleep, I'm awake, smiling, etc. The hooligan touching the blue wind, fingers, toes gone, but feet, little feet gone. You stayed home and did not come. Your shadow was gray and small then. But in 1968, these images were trusting, and the cake was very slightly taken care of. Terrible. He's good to me. He doesn't tell me who I am. The snapshots are very focused on the picture, not the hours and the years of trusting. The mammoth shadow looms over the hilarious. Joe Kibbing. Joe Kibbing was about 6'3" and very thin. He was of German descent. He had been born, like my father, in Covington, Kentucky, across the Ohio River from us. He starred at a Catholic high school as a basketball player. After the army, he went to work at Mr. Morris's store. Mr. Morris was Morris Cohen, my grandfather, and owner of the store with his son. Joe was very dramatic and high-strung and didn't take orders easily. And energy, many years of energy and scheming and your violent embezzlement. I worked there every Saturday, every summer for 10 years when I was 9. They got me to sort little stuff. Loom over the hilarious, strung and don't take orders easily, and energy, many years of energy, the melange of pain, the etchings, the drawings, the sculpture of my time, the paint, my heart, my brushes, my nerve ends, here the hand in your pocket, your hand in my pocket, the watch on my wrist so far away, the dragon sits with the devil on his shoulder, language is clear. Joe's older brother, who we all called Bud, his real name was Marcellus, was the head salesman at the store. He came to work there as soon as World War II ended and never left. A soft-spoken, intelligent man who, had he had an education past high school, might have been a lawyer or a surgeon. He was the older brother and very dignified. Back to Joe. Joe was stressed. He felt stressed by every order he was given. Plus, he had a problem with hemorrhoids, so there was sometimes blood on the seat of his khaki-washed pants. Intense and dark, so that's not good enough to photograph the crib. It looks dark too. What's cremating about that? Why people are not very interested in your job's making the big shadow to look over the girl's shoulder. Life's ass. A good bite. You are nice and terrifying. I embarrass nice people. You were nice too and scary. The fullness of me in the holy city. Chanson, Noël. Chanson, Noël. Chanson, Noël. Chanson, Noël. Look now, a complete mirage. The holy city, the perfect carnage. You lay blame on my feelings and not on your lying fingers in the black back pocket of the old warrior. Joe, of course, worked right through the hemorrhoids. No one mentioned it to him because how could you then? But for me, it was a mystery that held my eyes, this blood suddenly appearing and no one asking about it. Anyway, he was the head shipping clerk. But the feet, the little feet are gone. The hooligan poverty. The rhythm of the rag, oh rag, oh southern uncle. Do the spit, do the moneylender. There was a man Joe worked with called Willie Tapp. Willie was younger than Joe, so when I met him, he was probably 22. He had been a track star in high school and quit, came to work at this store. He was short and he was lithe. I could see how fast he must have been in the dashes. Claude Poussin up on the genoculum. They try to invent, not aligning, a magic landscape. We had Roma for a minute in a mirror, an accurate difference in a world of drawing. My eyes, my eye, now tearing and sad. For the years I was blind to the shadow of your objects. Willie Tapp, he dressed elegantly, like a lot of black guys did then for a guy loading trucks and handling greasy tools and heavy boxes. He was very zoot suit, peg pants, always a fancy shirt. He was a desperate alcoholic, and he reeked of cheap whiskey. This handsome, lovely man showed up for work drunk most Saturdays, but managed to perform most times. I saw Mr. Morris send him home at times when he couldn't walk, but he was a jive artist, and he hit his high fairly well. Tapp called Morris's son Leon his lopsided cousin. I said, "Why, Tapp? Why do you call him your lopsided cousin?" He said, "Because his wallet's in the back right pocket, and it's so full of money, it makes him lopsided. Like an alchemist." Geppetto bites the talking stick. Love and grief, Christ and Venus. I thought this was great. As always, I thought Mr. Lopside was a mean fool anyway. Cracks in the shadow, bleeding in the vein. I hear it. It's an image. The sculpture as an image. That's what I mean. Christ and Venus. He's the man. She's gone to Japan. 3 ex-votos do their job. She's gone to Japan with Hadrian, holding himself like the man who carved him. I went to blow glass. Ex-votos from red dye and sand. Cracks that will move and bleed like bleeding veins eventually, to dream among the votive objects, arranged by chance in beauty, your birth, the rebirth of the familiar face, and a sense of fun and fear and finding things she most cared about removed as liquid waste. A chainsaw, dear old friend on top of the world. The dust from the cuts, the foot-long log kicking and back at my face. Ferrule razor, tools, the dollars shine on the wheel, carved with a chainsaw, cast in bronze, painted with lead, glazed over with black, the palm of my hand like ink on the woodcut. The dust from the cuts, the 6-foot-long log kicking back at my face as if it were the first time. Each person so nice, so unique in that year, open to spending and bringing a narcissistic brain to my pocket, kicking back at my face. You got to give me a drink. Anyway. I wrote this poem in 1968, and it's about me and my children going to Highgate Cemetery in London to see the grave of Karl Marx.
Questa è una poesia scritta nel 1968 e riguarda una visita fatta al cimitero di Highgate a Londra insieme ai suoi figli.
It's called From the Diary of a Non-Deflector.
E ho dimenticato di dire che al cimitero di Highgate sono andati a trovare la tomba di Karl Marx, punto importante. La poesia si chiama Dal diario di un non deflettore.
On Sunday in Highgate Cemetery, playing soldiers, a man from Punjab realized 30 years ago that poverty came from him and not from God. On Sunday, I am a non-deflector, lumped with crumb bums. My cheeks are hairless. My trust in you, beauty, is real. What is really moving is the blackberries growing wild around the feet of 3 old commies from Slough and Punjab. Comrades, I need all the friends I can gather. My art is wasting away, standing at Marx's grave, like orange or violet or red or green. The joy of painting is a colorful pleasure. This is a fragment from the handbook on how to end the poems of a non-deflector. My name is Mud. I am the sun sinking behind Monet's grave. In southeastern Canada, money is spent on poets. I'm going to skip one. You're probably pleased about that.
Sta saltando uno, forse sarete contenti.
I'm going to read a poem called Fresh, which I wrote a couple of years ago, and in it I speak about a man who was a great American poet called Robert Creeley, Bob Creeley. He was a friend of mine too, and he died a few years ago, but I write about him and other things in Paris. I live in Paris.
Questo si chiama Fresh, scritto un paio di anni fa, parla in particolare di Robert Creeley, un grande poeta e amico di Jim, e parla di altre cose, la vita a Parigi.
And it's a kind of tour of my week in Europe as a quasi-continental person.
Una specie di giro attorno alla sua settimana in Europa, settimana tipo, come in quanto quasi europeo.
Fresh and a warning. Coffee, cracker, your hand gripping the rooftop. His drums blow forward. The sweat on his shoulder. Playing war. Loving and jitterbugging gray, pale, teal, across your face in stripes at Louvre Rivoli. Then pink lights Creeley's face as a star and whining. The knife in Jim's hand. Bob's knife in Jim's hand. It looks back 400 years. The pink standing for sad, clean lines around the swimming pool. This poem, I wrote it this spring. It's called A Song at Twilight, but it's for a man who's now dead, who was dying. And he was a great, great British poet called Tom Rayworth. Tom Rayworth. It's called A Song at Twilight for Tom Rayworth in palliative care.
La prossima poesia si chiama Canzone al crepuscolo ed è stato scritto quest'anno per Tom Rayworth, un grandissimo poeta inglese, amico di Jim, e quindi si chiama, Rayworth stava morendo nel momento in cui, o mentre Jim stava scrivendo la poesia, quindi si chiama Canzone al crepuscolo per Tom Rayworth in cura palliativa.
As cool as anybody could be who suddenly goes into palliative care, which is the end, he was really cool about it and sent us all farewell, but he would have loved this poem.
Rayworth è stato straordinariamente sereno, visto per essere uno in cura palliativa, ovviamente non è una cosa facile, ma ha aiutato a tutti con la sua serenità, ma gli sarebbe tanto piaciuta questa poesia.
A Song at Twilight. The work is exciting. The bean sprouts about the Thai basil. Weak. He's weak. Hemoglobin is low. Weak. The Essex poet sends me more on this godlike morning sperm. Sperm this morning. The last three colors, they came from like sperm. Innocent and boyish. The poet Laval awaits my charm and beauty. The Bahnhof is full of beggars. The foe is swell. Send me more like the last three colors, arriving like morning sperm. An innocent young boy and the poet Laval. Paris awaits them and my charm. The foe is very hot. The Bahnhof is full of gypsies. Guys, this is number 9. Okay? This is called Her Song. This poem I wrote about 20 years ago in a room that was black, painted black, and I wrote with white chalk, and then I photographed it digitally. And the process got my mind off the content of the poem.
La prossima poesia, saltiamo il numero 9, si chiama Her Song, la canzone di lei. Una poesia scritta 20 anni fa in una stanza nera, scritta in bianco sulle mura nere della stanza, che poi è stata fotografata. Jim ha fatto delle fotografie e nel scrivere è riuscita a liberarsi del soggetto della poesia.
Her song. If I travel far afield, a heart can't yield the alcohol that burns my envy of a life. I found heart's door, entering the dear soul of my barren womb. The once sweet voice sings the words that mean I can't stand alone. I'm going to read a poem now about, I had a great friend in Paris for many, many, many years. He was an etcher, an etching printer, and he printed for me from 1975 till he died, 2008. And he had a wonderful wife called Pep, who was really a dear friend and a maternal friend. And she died before he did. But this is a poem. It's sort of like a dream, but it's about her too and about me. And it's called July.
La prossima poesia, numero 11, July, luglio. Jim aveva un grande amico a Parigi tanti anni fa, un grandissimo stampatore d'arte con cui ho lavorato tantissimo, dal 1975 fino al 2008, l'anno in cui è morto. E la moglie di questo amico si chiamava Pep. Anche lei è una grandissima amica, un'amica materna, ed è morta poco prima del marito. E la poesia riguarda loro.
July. Around 6 a.m., several weeks ago, I was looking out our bedroom window, and there he was, bounding down the hill, through the ripe wheat field, black, very hairy, my gorilla, yelling, beating his tits, whispering songs of love to his white bird. Sweating, she, bleeding her hormonal bliss, retreats to her eyrie, awaiting her great ape. The sun sets every evening. The world of their youth has vanished. They finally settle down and chart the day's end. Ape and the bird commence the continuing care of each other. They look for ways to make their dancing more expressive. The ape says in passing, oh, by the way, I saw Pep in the woods last night. Oh? Yeah, she passed me. She was wearing pearls. Her ears flashed red from inside her head. Dig darker, I yelled as she flew by. Our life is spread out like a pair of legs, up in the air, completely vulnerable. Pep, see me, so red in the face. I thought of tomatoes while we sleep. I thought no fruit can ripen in the dark. Wait. Maybe it just takes longer. I hope our end has some flavor, dear. Dear, I really do. Well, this poem is a little bit longer, and it's based on my life in Paris, and I have a very goofy translation of Claude Lévi-Strauss' Letters to His Parents between 1932 and 1942. I know this is going to be a little tough to understand. The translation has been tailored by me to fit the great days I spend in Paris. And it's called Through the Stardust, I think. Through the Stardust.
The Heat on the Lawn.
And the Heat on the Lawn, yes. Claude.
Okay.
After Claude's death, a fair order was made of the papers. The package of papers were her pleasure, and she was in love with his voice. Her description of me and the time of his service in Strasbourg and all of Alsace. As a son of Lorraine, made the public aware of the New York connection and his idiot savant condition. The small railway station was particular. It was the path to melancholy. The countryside further heightened the urban quality of the stork's nest. You two are beautiful. You, I put my arms around and nestle in your red leaves. You are both beautiful. Dear you, my new bottle of ink is magic. It draws by its tail. There are places in Havana where you two were shot at. The penal system there is for brave types. They are all around me, but the chamber of dogs foul the new beds. It's 6 a.m. there, and places to go, like the levee or the coffee cups at home. The underground feeling of still being without blood between my legs. Return to the metro. All the Alsatians cry. Crybabies are our cousins. The little elves, the rats, they pray for peace and hope that our time there is more transformative. What a strong place. Reveille was good today. I had dreamt of corn and other grains to absorb my mother. The clowns rejoice. There's gay laughter at the wake. All at once the bathers scream, yes, when the beer and the lemonade is served on the floor by the fire. A pastel portrait on 8mm. The 100 shot glasses, my dad without spine, trying to find a place in her family. Clear alcohol and these mysteries stand to attention. They take the place of sardines in the local teenagers. Do you understand me, Mommy? Is Daddy distributing the guns I left behind? Tell him the veal must be pounded before frying. It's November, Parisians. Occupy the churches and hand out the vaccine. It will make us calm, hopefully, as a useful cooking utensil might. Claude, the graveyard is a good place to study and meditate. The views are long and the grass a final destination. And just a few miles away now is New York, the poorest city. There was a white line through the Celtic Sea. What's our ground speed? Norway, after the consciousness of subtlety, a drug. The next bend in the intestine is the appendix. As a dark creature, is my awareness a lie? How about my wakefulness after the important words become invisible? Why can't anxiety be seen as an object? Why are my eyes blind to the red hell? Oh, didn't the sun ramble? You are my rambler, Claude. His mother has stunning black eyebrows. He smokes endlessly, pushing the vapor down and into her lungs. She won't take her medication. She is called her. Claude smokes more, intense and happy in the new room. Her child dances. The city is begged to lower their rent. The child's a genius dancer, a tap dancer. On the bridge, the performers gather. Didn't the sun ramble? Watching Claude read aloud the letter to the folks before he mails it. My life here is very Gentile, Papa. From an early age, I have tried to abandon ideas. I had this lovely habit of being ambitious and undervaluing failure. I wrote my first poem. I can't remember it. Probably a politic of languor, a lying of the hanging psyche, a real apple to bite on. Not red. No time for tragedy. I am not sorry any longer. And then, not now, not real or written. Why? The road of time and the difficulty of the labor moves on. What does not is wonderful and adds pleasure to the clear, sad, longer, and later private world that my mother takes under her bed. Black eyes, seeing through the stardust. The heat on the lawn, unable to come inside. She is cold in the old weeds of August, etc. The image, a celebration of our odd behavior. The children and the dogs in a corner with the shadow that goes far and long across the paper. A silhouette holds back the grape fields. There is screams from the Hungarian families as they harvest the fruit. I have found river stones on the road, the mirror, the cleft between your legs. Now blow up the brain, blow up the red risotto and my existence. The alliance between us begins at 5 in the morning and continues at 3:30. Claude was born at midnight. He left the office at 4:45. Cinderella forgot she must leave the campsite before Rome night at La Coupole. Sunshine came across the grape fields, and I betray my immense desire for your voice. What's the manner of entry into the heart? Surely not just two wires sent through the arteries with messages and a liter of blood. You who were brought up to lose quarts and gallons, not liters, and in the apartment on 11th Street, where went the Milanese? Cher Tudo. Dear, you too. Do this one? To do an introduction? Sorry? Ah, yeah. You want to do it? What? Oh, we didn't do an introduction to that.
We didn't translate it.
We didn't translate the introduction.
Non abbiamo tradotto l'introduzione.
But the poem, she's going to tell you what the poem was about, sort of.
Quindi io vi dirò più o meno di che cosa si trattava. Allora, Jim ha presentato la poesia dicendo, avvertendovi che sarebbe un po' tosto. Veramente, in verità, è quello che lui chiama una goffa traduzione delle lettere che Claude Lévi-Strauss ha scritto ai suoi genitori dal 1932 a 42 all'incirca. E questo omaggio traduzione rappresenta di nuovo per Jim la sua vita parigina.
Ok.
Ed era anche perché non so se avete il numero, era il numero 12.
This is called, this is number 13. This is another poem I wrote on the black wall in this room with white chalk and then photographed it. It's quite short, don't worry.
Questo è più breve, non preoccupatevi. Allora, questo è il numero 13, è un'altra delle poesie scritte sulle mura nere in gesso bianco e poi fotografate.
Heart's way. Heart's blurred way moves the knife across your tears. Heart's way moves your long tears. From where I sit, your heart still eludes me. When I turned 80 2 years ago, I wanted to somehow commemorate the fact, the 80 years that I had spent here. And so I wrote this letter to the troops, to my troops, to the troops.
Avendo compiuto 80 anni 2 anni fa, il desiderio era di commemorare questi 80 anni passati qua. E quindi è nata la lettera alle truppe di Jim.
And a lot of the troops, when I say the troops, a lot of the troops are people I've collaborated with, printers and assistants and artisans and Also dead relatives and friends and enemies. So it's about that.
Le truppe sono tanti, collaboratori, stampatori, assistenti, artigiani, parenti morti, amici e nemici. Riguardo a quello.
Okay. Who was George? George, who was always so eager to make everyone feel welcome. He broke his dish when I dropped mine. He learns of Blind Pew at the Admiral Benbow. And Jim Hawkins being George, he thought the Second World War was a sanctuary of fellows. Not so, said the Cyclops. His anger at everything was shining and made old by one eye's sadness, the ether, the knife, the fictional home. I've checked the daylight. The drops of blood work my big toe on my right foot, asleep on the next toe, resting. Your savior obsession, the Mass, the civil privileges given us by you, the false foot forward on our property, the orange robe visits with our other preferences, like the hair rubbed off the beard against the tree on the veld, the head wrinkled by age, fat as ever, back to front, with an angel arriving and untangling those gone, those gone. Eunice is gone. She's dead, dead, she's dead. Fred's dead. Hercules died without me. Chloe too. Ernie Donner, dead. And now, Doc's gone. Doc is gone. In between the delivery room in the hospital and the new brick house on Cheyenne Drive, I lived with my grandma and grandpa on the North Crescent. They lived in a small house like their neighbors. There were a few very grand places, but they were hard to imagine, as I was 1 and 2 years old. My grandma's floors were very polished, and there was a small stained glass window on the way upstairs. My mother and I slept in one of the 3 bedrooms. There was also an attic, but I was too afraid to look in it. Our bathrooms smelled of old folks. It was tiled white with black tesserae for accent, and the toothbrushes lying around had lost their hair. In the basement was my grandpa's wizard table, where he did his sleight of hand thinking. His hammer held the most power, and the noise it made when it struck a nail, or for that matter, any surface, amplified the random anger swimming around there from his porcine fist. I have raised the ongoing tension question. Stepping up the alert status, I seek your understanding. I am affected by the access, in and out. We are mothering relevant governments, and military watercolors are vibrant and at attention. The girl, the angel, the Rembrandt portrait of defection, exhaling clouds of life into the cold air. I feel love, really up there inside you. New appearances. Where's that? She asked. America? America is marching in an unlikely manner. 1,000 lines of battle. 2 feathers come to campground. Mr. and Mrs. Fullup. Upstairs coyotes, unfaithful coyotes, cougars, wheat fields, unfaithful apple trees on the side of the Jerusalem hills, unfaithful 5-year-old fingers, unfaithful and faithful, and unfaithful wives, unfaithful husbands, the landscape unfaithful, friends and cousins, my grandchildren, the neighbors across the road and their animals, your plants, the people who tend your plants, unfaithful. Voice, the answer, the moon, the crook of my arm moves the flesh, the blue desert to no effect, high and verdant. Animals are chilling your lavender, is fading to lavender. Please send me home to the edge of the evening. The blood moon, you miss it. In October, will crowd itself to no effect. Speak the Joseph poem, the shining bed with phallus. It turns to dust. A son of God appears, a gold baby. The audience witnesses the birth. The proprietor, an old guy, wearing his own conversation, like a regular customer, looks at the radio, very loud in the middle of the night. Or is it tomorrow night, killing the session? A mark of an unlikely messenger, knowing the website of the government's channels, the ongoing development between northern and southern property owners, the try to be aware of Top Man, the deep purple reflex, his bouquet of juniper bears witness to the soldiers, well knit by the lies of autumn. Styria, once again, its complex soil is a vagina of money, the expression of rage, blessed soul and screaming tenor, listening to the impulse of strokes, the history of screams. Bernini, damaged by a crack, executed and invented by memory, shaping the new Christian roadblock. Bring me my charcoal sticks, I must draw the popes, the bust of the popes, Urban, Paul, Reuben, John, Francis, I must make their blurred faces a mark on the paper, the buildup of the carbon on my palms, Who was George? North of the Villa Borghese. George. When Pope Julius lived in a leafy green room, George, who was always so eager for his orange trees, to make everyone feel welcome in his quiet haven, he broke his dish when I dropped mine. I paid my entrance fee. George learns of Blind Pew at the Admiral Benbow. His Jewish classics, like the Pantheon, for instance, were so sure the sanctuary of war was a sanctuary of fellows. Not so, said the Cyclops. It's full of pain and anger. Everything was shining and made old by one eye's sadness, the ether, the knife, a ghetto tradition, slightly scorched around the edges. George, to avoid competition, fills the cavities with nuts, and his sense of terror is a medical falsehood. George, you're a brave man. You're a brave man, George. On the next toe, you've been a lot of places. Your savior obsession, the dark section doesn't hold the civil privileges you might find on any people's telephone. Us by you, kid. Did the cab come and stand on your false foot? Forward? How about a little light on our own property? Tonight, a rebuke. Do you think you're being too Chinese? This is a perception of pirates giving me the black spot by the Creator. Privacy, a coming-of-age word. My sea chest, stolen by my relative or some local acquaintance who empties my house of sacred objects that I owned and was able to buy because of the gifts in my left hand. All your purses on the bed, clawed at by the children, owned by them now so meaningless, the robbery of my heart, two thieves and the victims, all swimming in our tears, caressed by gold and foundry costs. In front of our eyes, the boy removes the hot ore. There is little enough now to steal in America. There's little left to steal in America, marching and eating as fast as we can. Japan, winning the contest. So my brother won't leave his room, broken and sure of his comb-over, a Martian's waffle, bacon and sovereign freedom, safe and waiting for papal rule, eggs and pancakes, no death penalty. Moths carry me along through the moon's glow, pale and sweating, stealing your flutter and your carnal smile. I've become a tramp, my daughter. I smell you through my aching knees. In the sweet by and by, the fear of passion is hard to sustain. The music of the Virgin's touch is more like Jesus. And then the earth starts to dread the star missing you. I really should try loneliness. I called to say, breakfast was great, and forgive me for being old. The wild family, meanwhile, will tell us that the trees grow wild again, over us, on top of us. Happy anew, the parrot at sunrise. My ferocious image and winter's breath 3 a.m., 2 Venus on Kozo paper. In me, I'm me, thanks to the loss of labor and systemic sprays. Our entree to completely missing the point about what this poem is about. Our imperfect life, but our life and age, that's what counts. Replacing the sewer pipes in our town. Underground, new deep holes rooted in a very real landscape. The place beyond the words, a slight, clear, ravishing voice, is a hopeless hazard. The moon fills the silent house. Earth gives birth to time, and heaven is a jealous parliament. The mad dog is swimming in the icy waters, not having any idea about the mysterious temperature of age. Home is where bugs crawl on our heads at night. After you hit the floor like a barber pole, a black abstraction whispering across the history of color. This week, I painted the possibility of permanent silence. Well, it could happen, even though I'm so happy trying to hold the tightness of this celebration of neighbors, this family, understanding how paper can undulate. I kiss you. I hear the Indian waters in my fingers. The boatman's confession is a mysterious boulevard. It brings you soft, slain to my voice, leaning back on the front seat of the truck. Down a long green street, there's an exit by your ankles. Fabulous, fabulous. Barking at stones, a blind, futile event in my mind. A light in my resident body walks the halls of world issues on the side panel. Beautiful Canada, sitting in this country. I smell your hair, your scalp. The last time it was Pep's before she was gone. The magnificent break of arteries and the road to blood. We live forever on a minute with the ghost of love. The rose of Sharon is in full bloom here. The air is fecund with her odor. And why not? The art of age. The art of age. Am I blue? Am I blue? These tears in my eyes telling you how kind God was to the sculptor. So kiss him again. How can you ask me, am I blue? The break is perfect. The alarm clock, a visiting Xanax. The whole point is delicacy, a sign of its pale color, tenderness of the new apricot buds, the sudden appearance of little fruit, fuel for the painter, the dream blossom of a long ago garden, bland in the old positive sense, suave. This is a dear life. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Well, speaking of singing, I've only written one song in my life, but recently I wrote it. And it comes from a poem I wrote. And the poem was based on a very loose translation by me of the early 20th century Russian poet Osip Mandelstam.
Allora, parlando di canti, Jim ha scritto una sola canzone in vita sua. La prossima poesia che si basa su una traduzione molto elastica di una poesia del poeta russo dell'inizio del XX secolo, Mandelstam, e si chiama Le api.
The poem is called The Bees. After Mandelstam. For the joy in my hand, the sun goes mad. The bees can't fix the kisses or the fur on the painting, but the little bees are rich with their merriment. Don't bruise the night, don't bruise the night. Send humorous presents to the poor immigrants, for they are the collectors of dead bees and the eaters of their honey. The joy in my hand, the sun goes mad. The bees can't fix the kisses. The little bees are rich with their merriment. What's my name in England? My name in England is John. Don't bruise the night. Don't bruise the night. Send presents to the poor immigrants, for they are the collectors of dead bees and the eaters of their honey. Thanks. And wait a minute. What about these guys? Come on. You know, I can't do this forever. It takes a lot out of
fare questo per sempre.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Grazie.
Era solo per dire volevo salutare i nostri magnifici amici musicisti, Fabrizio Ottaviucci, Daniele Roccato, che credo vogliano fare un piccolo omaggio a Jim. Ora abbiamo bisogno un po' di tempo per trapassare dalla voce così alta di Jim alla vita normale. Forse un po' di musica dei nostri amici ci può aiutare a fare questo piccolo passaggio. Jim, why you don't sit just in the middle? This music is for you.